Hello and welcome to the Zacks Advisor Tools presentation of the portfolio reports. My name is Mark Shepley. I am the product manager for Zacks Advisor Tools portfolio analytics and reporting piece. So in today's agenda, we will be reviewing the following components to our new portfolio reports. We will be overall introducing the portfolio reporting and what they are and how to utilize them. We will be reviewing the portfolio monitor and how to access these reports and access your portfolios. We will be navigating the different interfaces and what is accessible for each of the different reports. And lastly, we will be reviewing each of the different reports. So the diversification report, the comparison report, and the performance analysis report. So we're going to dive in here. To start, when you log into the Zacks Advisor Tools platform, you might pop up on the quote monitor page here, but up at the top, we've got our portfolio monitor platform. So in here, for those of you who are new, you probably won't see any portfolios load in. For those of you who have portfolios, they may be hidden. They might be up in that client account library that you can kind of pull them in. Or for anybody who doesn't have them at all, we can use our to create a new portfolio where you can add your name and the tickers. You can select tickers and shares, tickers and weights, and tickers only. And when you add them in, it will populate within the portfolio monitor interface below, and then it will let you set your shares or weight that you want to associate with the holdings. Or we also have a create portfolio from file. You can select tickers and shares, tickers and weights, and it's going to give you a file that you would utilize as a template to import the information into the system. And lastly, if you have portfolios or if you load a portfolio and you don't see it, and this client/account library is where you'll find all of your different accounts that will go into the system, as well as, if available, the model portfolio accounts. So I've already got some in here, just as kind of a general use case. I've got a couple different levels. I have my own moderate portfolio. I have a core moderate ETF model from the model portfolios, and I've created my own moderate kind of benchmark as well by just utilizing kind of half equity, half fixed income. Pretty easy to build out utilizing the kind of tickers and weights. But to hop in, we're going to be looking at how do we access these reports? So there's a new icon over here called reporting, and it will populate. It will show you the three different primary reports: diversification, performance analysis, and comparison reports. So if I were to go to my moderate portfolio, which has about 10 holdings, I want to look at an asset allocation report based off of this report. So I'm going to go to reports, diversification, asset allocation. And this is going to give us our primary interface up here in the top. So we'll just touch on the interface quickly. So we've got the main portfolio. So if you were to click on that, it's going to let you select your main portfolio. Then you've got your comparison portfolio. I will add one in a second here. You've got your report library. At this point in time, we've got diversification reports, performance analysis, comparison reports, and more to come. And diversify by, so the 7 different diversification areas. So asset allocation, credit rating, maturity breakdown, fixed income sector exposure, coupon breakdown, regional exposure, and sector breakdown. And lastly, we have the include holdings and include charts. So if you were to uncheck include charts, it's going to pull the chart out and you're just going to see the holdings. Likewise, if you did it the other way, you would just see the chart in there. But I like to look at them both. So we're going to go back to the comparison report here. So I've got my asset allocation breakdown for my portfolio. It looks good. But I want to compare it now to the model ETF. So core, I'm looking at my moderate. So I want to look at the core moderate ETF model. So I'm going to click on that one, hit add portfolio. And now we're going to see a breakdown. So at the top, we've got our comparable charts, and we've got a table that kind of shows you the over/under of your portfolio versus the model portfolio you're comparing it to. And again, you've got your primary portfolio's breakdown of the individual holdings, but you also have kind of the same table at the bottom if you were just to be looking at the table. So just to just to show a quick run through, we've got all these different diversified, but I'll go to a fixed income sector exposure. So now we're looking at fixed income sector exposure where it's applicable. It's going to break out the fixed income components, and it's going to show you, again, the comparison between your primary portfolio and your comparison portfolio. So I'm going to go ahead and switch around. So now I want to look at my conservative. So I will click on Mark's conservative portfolio, and I want to go to the model portfolio, and I'm going to look at the core conservative ETF model. I'm going to dive into the next report here. So we've got performance analysis. So this is a great report when you're just trying to look at some key elements of return. So some new areas that you can now utilize are the history dropdown to run a 1, 3, 5, 10, or 20-year report. You have different starting values that you can assign to this report. And if you just don't want to look at, certain kind of, if you want to align it to your needs, we also have different rebalancing frequencies. So we have monthly, quarterly, and annually, if something is more aligned to what you like to see in terms of showing returns. So the report is as follows. We've got a chart here that shows your primary portfolio versus the model, or kind of what you're looking for. And another use case here, again, if I was a prospect and somebody was showing me this core conservative ETF model, it's definitely looking better than mine. In this 10-year period, it's beating mine out by a good amount. And you can just visually see that right here of the difference. But you can also monetarily see, it did almost 30 grand better in the same time frame. You've got your risk analysis, risk return analysis blotter over here of the return and the standard deviation. And then just for some additional return metrics provided, depending on the length of report you run, you've got some calendar year returns here at the bottom. So if you were to run a 20-year report here, you could see how this did in some of the more recessionary periods. You've got the 1, 3, you've got the 3-month, 6-month, 1-year, 5-year, 10-year, all sorts of different return elements in here, just so you can look at it internally, or you can put it in front of somebody to explain to them how you did during certain periods. A great use tool for showing return and just explaining how your prospect or your current client's portfolio is comparative to your model portfolio. Now, the last report we're going to get into here is a comparison report. Now, this kind of takes elements from both of the different reports we're looking at. It's going to take the diversification element from the first report, and it's also going to take the return element from the second report. And, again, we've got all of our different interface options here. Now have our diversification drop down back up here, so you can select what you see up here at the top, as well as the different return, drop downs here. So this is a cool report because it's got 4 key elements, I think, when you're presenting to a prospective client or kind of trying to evaluate a prospect's portfolio versus a model portfolio, one of your own. And it's diversification. So we've got our diversification, a return. So we want to show return. We want to show how something performed or outperformed, underperformed, how it did at certain levels in certain areas in times. And then performance statistics. So again, we've got our, up and down returns in terms of percentage and monetary value. And then lastly, it's got these 2 elements over here that are new as well. So we've got the risk analysis. So it's going to show how risky my current portfolio is to the prospective portfolio. And it's also going to show you not only that, it's going to show you the expenses as well. So, I'm not getting as good return on my conservative portfolio. Maybe it's a little less risky, but I'm also paying quite a bit more in expenses. So to me, this would be a good selling point for me trying to sell me over to this core conservative ETF model. So that is the comparison report. Those are the 3 reports that are in the system. I really appreciate everybody taking the time here to look through these reports with me. I thank you. And if you have any questions or requests, please feel free to reach out to the email below or the phone number below.